Feedback.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right. I just wanted to, first of all, thank all of our media partners that have joined us this morning as I'm going to talk about, provide some comments about our two fallen officers who lost their fight with COVID-19 this week. You know, this is just an incredibly tragic moment, and I myself am still trying to process these two deaths. And this comes right on the heels of another line of duty death in which Senior Police Officer Andy Traylor earlier this month died as a result of a car crash. On Wednesday of this week, August 25th, Senior Police Officer Randolph Boyd passed away after his battle with COVID-19. You know, he's survived by his wife, Erica, and their twin 7-year-old boys. Randy had been with the department for 7 years and was assigned to patrol at the time of his passing. The next day, which was yesterday, August 26th, we lost Senior Sergeant Steve Urias to COVID-19 as well. Steve joined APD in 1989 and had recently celebrated his 31st year with the department. Steve was preparing for retirement when he contracted the virus, and he is survived by his wife, Lori, and their 2 adult children. And Steve was also assigned as a patrol sergeant at the time of his passing. You know, both of these officers served honorably with the police department, and I can't express how terribly they're going to be missed. I also can't express how deeply impactful this is on our police department family, as they were friends and colleagues of many with APD. I want to ask the community to keep them, their families, and all of our employees, sworn and civilian, in your thoughts and prayers. This terrible disease is still out there. And while many have had the blessing to be able to work from home, our employees continue to come into the workplace and go out in our community, answering emergency calls for service and placing themselves in harm's way for the benefit of our citizens. I commend our 2 fallen officers for their selfless service and for showing up every single day, despite the obvious danger that we're all in. I'm also asking our employees and the public to honor the memory of these 2 officers by taking all the precautions that you can to keep yourself and your family safe during this deadly pandemic. The funeral service information will be coming out in the coming days, and both are considered line of duty deaths and therefore will be afforded those honors at the funeral. I want to thank you, say thank you to all those who have reached out to our department to offer condolences. You know, our employees can certainly use that right now. This is just such a hard time for our men and women, but they continue to show up with courage, with fortitude, and with professionalism. Para la comunidad que no habla inglés, esta semana 2 oficiales murieron por el virus COVID-19. Uno era un oficial asignado a patrullar con 7 años de experiencia y el otro era un sargento de 31 años con el departamento, también asignado a patrullar. Este es un momento trágico y muy difícil para los empleados del departamento. Por favor, guárdalos en tus pensamientos y oraciones. I'll go ahead and take a few questions. Thank you.
Chief, can you confirm whether or not these 2 officers were fully vaccinated against COVID-19?
I cannot confirm or say that whether they did or not. I don't know. We're highly encouraging all of our employees to get vaccinated. It is not mandated, and we don't track that.
Is there any consideration to make vaccines mandatory or make masks mandatory for your department?
That's really I think a consideration that would need to happen at the city management level for all city employees, obviously not just the police department. And to my knowledge, those discussions are not being had right now.
Chief, do you know whether or not these officers contracted the virus while on the job?
There was a recent state law that was passed that actually says that it is presumed that they caught it on the job. If you're a law enforcement officer or a public safety employee and contract the virus.
Is the police department, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Is the police department taking any extra precautions to protect staff from COVID-19 right now, including potentially establishing that vaccine requirement for staff?
We are not talking about a vaccine requirement. What we are doing is following city guidance on the mask mandate in all city facilities, on finding every opportunity that we can to, if our employees are able to accomplish the job by, doing the social distancing and, we're, for instance, the show-ups that patrol shifts have at the beginning typically are held indoors. We're now holding those outside so that, to minimize the risk of the spread of the virus. And we are doing the best we can to put individual officers into vehicles as opposed to doubling them up, once again, to try and minimize the spread of the virus. So, we're doing everything we can including, all of the typical procedures that we have for decontamination and sanitization of our workspaces. But, like I said, our folks still have to show up every single day. And so we're just trying to make the work environment the best that we can for them.
Hey, Chief. Shannon Ryan's having problems with her microphone, so she typed a question into the chat. I'll read it out here. What percentage of the department is vaccinated, and is anything being done to encourage or incentivize officers to receive vaccinations? How many officers currently have COVID-19, and how many of those officers are hospitalized?
Well, so there's a lot of questions there. We do track how many officers are, have reported that they have COVID. Right now, and that number changes because, they'll test one day positive and then a couple of days test again and they're negative. And so presumably they're over it. We still have the same protocols for making sure that people isolate and are not coming to work if they're testing positive, and they have to show, a certain amount of time has passed since their negative test before they can come back into the workplace. Could you read that again, Stephanie? There was a number of questions there.
Yes, absolutely. The questions were, what percentage of the department is vaccinated?
Okay, so let's stop right there. We certainly know which employees we have vaccinated. It is difficult to know whether we've had other employees who have sought the vaccine from their personal physician or from one of the drugstores or other places where vaccines are available. They are not required to report that to us. We estimate that we're at about 50 to 60%, but that is an estimate, and we don't know for sure how many of the employees are vaccinated because we don't require that and don't require them to report it.
Gotcha. The other part of that question was, is anything being done to encourage or incentivize officers to receive vaccinations?
We are certainly encouraging them. I put out consistent messaging and we'll be doing again so today and in the coming, obviously the coming weeks as the COVID is surging right now. We have not started to incentivize it other than what the city is doing at the higher level. And really that's being looked at as a holistic effort for all city employees.
Chief, why wouldn't the department survey its officers about whether or not they're vaccinated? It's my understanding that EMS here in the city and county have surveyed their medics about their vaccination status. I mean, why wouldn't the department survey its members and seek that information out through a survey?
You know, we're really taking our lead on this from Austin Public Health and our medical director on the best way forward for all of our employees to ensure that, you know, we're making the vaccine available, that we are encouraging them to get the vaccine. There still remains that personal decision about whether or not individuals should get the vaccine or not. And you know, me as the chief, I respect that decision. You know, I can tell you that I'm glad to share it. I am vaccinated and have been since the beginning of this. But also respect people's individuals' decisions to get the vaccine right now until a higher mandate really from either the federal, state, or local government comes out saying that it is required.
Chief, I think this was asked earlier, but I'm not sure you got to it. But the question of how many officers currently, and I know you said this is a moving target, but if you can give us an estimate of how many officers have recently tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, I apologize if I didn't answer it. We have approximately 40 officers that have tested positive, that are positive right now. And, you know, we've had a much higher number than that have had COVID and have recovered from it since the beginning of the pandemic.
Is there any indication that COVID is spreading amongst officers in the department?
That's difficult to know because of the fact that, you know, we continue to interact very, you know, in a close personal way with the public on many of the calls that we have to respond to. You know, certainly between our officers, we are putting all of the, you know, we've made masks and, you know, hand sanitizer. We've made all of the PPE available for high-risk calls. And our partners at EMS are helping with that on the day-to-day basis as well. So it is difficult to know exactly where someone got it. And I think that's why, you know, the governor and state legislature made the decision that if they contract it, it's presumed that it's contracted while they're on duty.
Chief, have any officers expressed concern about continuing to do their job with cases increasing among the department?
Well, I'm sure that they're all feeling it. You know, I'm certainly feeling it. And I show up every single day to the office, and you know, I'm masking up even though I'm vaccinated. We know that the vaccine is not quite as effective against the variant as it was at the outset. And so, you know, I think that every officer probably has that concern, but every officer right now is continuing to show up. And I just think that says a lot about the men and women of the Austin Police Department.
With that many officers out, is this
Chief
putting...
Carolina,
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Yes, with that many officers out, is this putting a strain on, you know, the department's ability to staff positions, and is this costing overtime?
So, you know, we have been in a, you know, kind of a staffing crisis for some time now. We are doing our best to turn that around, you know, putting our academy classes through and so forth. The number of officers that we have that are out on COVID only adds to that problem. We have had to expend overtime to backfill many of the patrol shifts, as well as moving officers from specialized units back to patrol to help fill the gap. And that's going to continue. And COVID certainly is not making that any better.
We'll take one last
question. At the beginning of August, as you know, there was a funeral held for another fallen APD officer. At this point, do you believe the exposure to COVID to these other two officers might have happened at that event, at the funeral, given the fact that people were not wearing masks and so on?
You know, it is very difficult to know where exactly, because we don't, you know, obviously when when our officers are showing up every single day and answering 911 calls, and then I have, we don't keep track of where our officers are going during their off-duty time either, but they're certainly at the forefront of this fight, along with our medical healthcare workers, our other public safety partners at fire and EMS that are doing the same thing. And I think trying to pinpoint it to one event is very difficult, but we need to do a good job, as a department and as a community, to take every precaution.
Chief, I just wanted to clarify a response that you gave from earlier. When you said that you estimate 50 to 60% of people are fully vaccinated, is that sworn staff, meaning officers, or is that of the entire department?
It's my understanding that it's the entire department that includes both our sworn and civilian staff.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate the engagement. I appreciate our community that has continued to send, the wishes and everything for our two fallen officers. Please, as I said, keep their families, keep them, and keep our employees in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you all for attending.
Thanks.